workshop is designed for us to get something back. And that's our consciousness, our African consciousness. The consciousness workshop was started by elders and ancestors. So we want to welcome both of them tonight because there's no NPCs here. You know, I'm here with Brother Sam, and we got Brother Simba here. So we want to welcome all of the spirits who came through this workshop. There's a tradition that goes along with the workshop. I'm a youth, you know, I'm a pupil, I'm still going through life. And I recognize my elders as wisdom, as those wise ones. You know, they say with every elder that passed away, there's a library that goes along with it. Right? Because I recognize I don't know what I need to know about what I need to know in life, that's why I go to my elders. So even when I'm speaking, I know I'm not qualified to speak unless I ask my elder for permission to speak, right? So I'm going to take this time and I'm going to ask my permission from our elder. May I continue? May I continue, Mother Peggy? Ashe. Now that I got the blessings from the elder, we can go on with this program. We want to welcome the spirit of Sister Welsing. Ashe. You know who Sister Welsing is, right? This lady lived her life to teach us white supremacy. So today, without further ado, we want to bring on the activities. We want to bring on Sister Holly to come on and give us a libation. Come and bring the spirit of the ancestors with us.
So we're gathered here because we as African people know that our spirits, our souls, and our bodies are all over the diaspora, all over the world. We know the African proverb says that as long as you call the name, the person is not dead. They still live as long as you call the name. So tonight we pay homage not only to Dr. Cress Welsing, but to all of our ancestors who have gone on, those in our family, those in our community, those part of our world culture. So tonight I'm going to pour water for Dr. Cress Welsing. We're going to also pour for Dr. Ben Jacqueline. Going to pour for Dr. John Henry Clark. We're going to pour for Dr. Asa Hilliard. And if you would please just call out the names of those people that you know if you call their names, they still live among us. Please call them.
Sister Burke. Brother Twiggs.
Dad Turner. Then Martin Busey. Gabriel Process. John the Holy Church. Marcus Garner.
Nice mom.
And all the names that you didn't call, collectively we acknowledge their presence on this earth by saying,
Right. As is the tradition of our ancestors in everything we do, we want to first and foremost acknowledge the presence of a true living God. I want everybody, if you can, with me, just find a place inside of yourself. Take a deep breath. So we can connect to each other with breath. I'm not talking about a breath in your chest, though. I'm talking about relax. In a chest, a breath from down deep in your belly. Because that's something that connects us all immediately. And when I say acknowledge the presence of a true and living God, what I want to make sure we do is we acknowledge the fact that not only is God present, but God's present in each and every one of us. And if we do that in the beginning of everything we do, like we pour libation to our ancestors, we know that there's nothing we can't be successful at. Because God can do everything but. And so we want to connect to the presence of God in each and every one of us. Acknowledge our ancestors, and as the speaker before me, we want to request permission from the elders to begin. Queen Mother? With permission from the elders again. My name is Brother Sam Bradford. My Connecticut is Brother Ancestor Ra. And it's a real pleasure to be with you today in front of the African Conscious Workshop. Let's give a big hand for the young people. For those who know the history of the African Conscious Workshop, for those young people to continue to keep that going is a wonderful, wonderful example of African consciousness in the community, and it would not without them, so we really want to thank them for that. We also tonight, we here because of really the work of Brother Patrick Freeman and Sister Queen Halima. Let's give a big hand for Brother Patrick Freeman. The Temple Maat that worked many years ago. The Temple Maat worked to bring people in on a regular basis, and everybody knows to show the message. When we needed to get the word from people like Dr. Welsing and all those Africans who were putting out the consciousness, it was the message that do people remember a time before YouTube? Remember a time where you could just go on a computer and bring up a speaker? It said the only way you could get a speaker was you had to have somebody who can get them on the radio or get them. And Brother Patrick Freeman did that. How long did you do the message for? About 14 years. So let's give it's back. You said it's back. Let's give a big hand for Brother Patrick Freeman in that work. I'm going to move quickly, everybody, because we don't got a lot of time and we got a lot of people that we got to speak. And so we want to get right into the agenda. And so we want to start off with a poetry selection by Sister Goodness. Is Sister Goodness here? Okay. So, without any further ado, let me introduce the panel speakers tonight. And they'll do the work of talking about the background of who we're gonna, the legacy of which we're gonna honor tonight. So we're gonna bring all the panel speakers up first. So first, let me introduce to the stage Queen Mother Doyle. Is she here? Okay. But I do see Minister David Muhammad. Let's give a minister. I also see Ross Jomo Okono. Let's give a hand for Ross. I see Queen Halima. Let's give a big hand for Queen Halima. I see Brother Chris Stevens. Let's give a big hand for Brother Chris Stevens. All right, so in order to get started, each of the speakers is going to have 5 minutes to speak, and then after each of the speakers speak, we're going to have a keynote address by Queen Mother Deborah Johnson, then a video presentation, a final piece of poetry, and if we have enough time, we'll give everybody else an opportunity to be able to share and exchange. So without any further ado, let's start off with our good minister from the Nation of Islam, Minister David Muhammad.
I want to just begin in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, in the name of the Creator, Jehovah, by whatever name we may call him. We always want to begin in his name and asking for his divine guidance and providence. I want to also thank the ancestors and the elders for getting us this far and for all of the struggles and sacrifices and enduring long enough to give birth to a child that gave birth to another child to give birth to all of us that's in this room right now. So it's just something to be grateful for, to recognize that all of us are links in a chain connected to the strongest of the strong who were able to survive in the sojourn in the West through white supremacy, slavery, Jim Crow, all the way up to present time. And so I also want to begin in the tradition that Brother Sam and everybody just mentioned and asking the ancestors for permission to speak. May I ask my aunt Ayetta for permission to speak? Okay, so we just want to I'm thankful right now for a group of people like Brother Pat Freeman and Sister Deborah Johnson, and Sister Halima, Brother Shango, to even have a commemoration of the legacy of Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. Right now, I'm hearing a lot about David Bowie. I respect the creativity of David Bowie. I like his music, but it is good that we all recognize the passing of those who contributed. But I want to hear about my own people and the contribution that we gave. And I don't hear a lot of commemoration and appreciation in the Buffalo News or in the USA Today for the passing of our great ones. And so, the Final Call newspaper right here has done a great, beautiful article commemorating the legacy of Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. Final Call is a national newspaper, international newspaper. It's always good that we have our own, so we don't have to ask permission to give honor and praise to the great ones that shaped us and molded all of us. And so, I was introduced to Dr. Francis Cress Welsing as I came into the Nation of Islam as a young minister. The book, the ISIS Papers, was available through the Final Call newspaper for purchase, and it was like required reading. It was almost required reading that you, as a young Muslim, read the ISIS Papers, Keys to the Color, the psychosis of white supremacy and color confrontation. I learned from just reading about her history that she came from a family, a great family of greatness and overachievers in Chicago. And her father was a physician. Her father's father was a physician. She graduated from Howard Medical School as a medical doctor and became a psychiatrist and taught in the psychiatry department at Howard University. And so, her theory, the Cress theory on color confrontation should be required, should be foundational, just like they make Sigmund Freud. They make Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung required reading in college. Is that right?
That's right.
And Sigmund Freud's theories about sexual desires and things about everything is based on our sexual desires. If they can make him a pillar in required study for psychiatry, we should make our own leaders, our own psychiatrists and scholars required reading. I believe that her theories on color confrontation is more valid, more credible than Sigmund Freud's theories, than Carl Jung, than P.F. Skinner, and all of these white psychiatrists that all of us are required to study. And if anybody has a School of African Ancestry, Marcus Garvey School, whatever school that we have here teaching black scholarship, we should make her book a textbook in that school. Because, her theory is that you can't really address the psychosis of black people without examining and analyzing white supremacy and racism. And she said that she was on a Donahue show. She said that when she was treating her patients, she's a practicing psychiatrist in Washington, D.C. Treating her patients, she found out that the root cause of many of the psychoses that we suffered from was a direct result of battling and dealing with white racism and white supremacy. And so she's very valid in our reading, and her theories of color confrontation, dealing with white people's fear of genetic annihilation, is the reason why you have white supremacy and white racism. They know that they are a minority on the planet. They realize that everywhere they went on the planet, and everywhere they raped our women at, when the explorers would sail down the coast and come back up the coast and find out that the woman had a baby, they found that the baby was black, the baby was brown, the baby was an original child, so they recognized that, a white person and a black person makes a black person. A white person and a brown person makes a brown person. And so in recognizing that they are outnumbered 11-1 on the planet, is everybody all right?
Okay.
That they call us minorities, but we outnumber them 11-1 across the planet Earth. And the only way that you and I are minorities are if we are divided and cut off from our people everywhere around the globe. And so, we are, white folks recognizing that they are the minority and that they are genetically recessive
Yes.
or weak.
Yes.
That means that they don't, if you lay down with an original person, a black person, the child is a black child. So they recognize that, and so they put a system in place to preserve themselves and make sure that they weren't victims of genetic annihilation. And so, those are very valid, critical points that she makes. I think it's very good for us to recognize our leaders and scholars while they are alive, and not wait till after they go. But it's very unfortunate that a lot of times we don't really fully recognize the legacy and the value of a person until after they are gone. So I want to thank once again this group of people for putting this together, and that we honor her legacy not just today but ongoing, and that we make her book, the ISIS Papers, a part of our curriculum in whatever Black studies or Afrocentric school that we set up in Buffalo, New York.
All right, quickly, what did he say? Give me two things he said that resonated with you. Two things he said.
We gotta have that book in all of our schools.
That's right.
All right, let's get somebody from the audience though. Two things. All right, well, thank you. What else? We gotta have a book in all our schools? Go ahead. Oh, he said, give it a book right there. Give it a book right there. Somebody else, give me one more thing that he said. Huh? We are not minorities.
She comes from a legacy of scholars.
She comes from her grandfather, her father, all of them. Matter of fact, minority, root word for minority is what? Root word for majority is what? And we know that we ain't minor at nothing.
She's from Chicago.
She's from Chicago. Let's give another big hand to brother.
Elders, can I continue?
Of course.
I want to come with another perspective. Do you know what year it was when we had ASCOT here in Buffalo?
1992.
Okay. In addition to being able to read and study, we happen to have this little thing going on, and we'll talk about another time, where a lot of the people who you see here were at ECC, and for some strange black reason, there was an ASCOT conference here in Buffalo, and the majority of those ancestors that you named during the libation were all here. And for some strange reason, God had that live and fresh food. We served and fed all of those ancestors, and those living ones. Dr. Jeffries was here as well, back in
1992.
Okay. October 92. All right, so with all of those things being said, I happen to be forced in order to get credentials to study that psychology, and we had black psychology teachers there and white psychology teachers, but things took on a different shape when you had people around you who had a different understanding. Brother Hakeem Cosby, Attila Jamu, Brother Kamal. When you have these people as your teachers, Nathan Hare, all these people in one building at one time as mentors, Sam Rafford and many of the other 35 to 45-year-old people you see in the community now, all of us were at school together at the same time. And this is what we fed on daily. We fed on between class, after class, club meeting, Black Student Union meeting. It was a lot of African regurgitation, so much that it spilled over on East Utica and Jefferson when the library and consciousness workshop was across the street. Saying that now, it becomes interesting that after we study psychology, those of us who get a chance to take a look, we read the books, we listen to the elders, we watch their videos. What now do we do after we figure out what went wrong with us and what's still wrong with other people's minds that are not treating us right? After we have identified who God is, who the devil is, and whatever other adjectives you want to use, what now do conscious people do? What do you do for the generations coming after you? Time in the flesh has a time. How much do we have that we can proceed and give to others and try to resurrect as many as possible? Because unless you came here with I-9, not I-9, what's that immigrant visa, or if you filled out a request for citizenship, or if you took an oath downtown or any one of these places as a citizen, all of you to me represent stolen property. Wow. That problem has not been rectified physically, mentally, legislatively. Even those bills that get passed, they vote on them every few years, and we're still affected by the thought process. One, of what we endured coming over here, living over here, being raised here, being fed here. And we're also up under the thought process of those who were in governorship when we got here. So much so that we're still talking about the same lynchings, hangings, killings, unlawful police beatings. All of those things represent a thought process or a spirit. Most of you are church and Islamic people, so those same jinn, those same demons are still operating in space now.
Yes.
And those spaces, just like when the demon would come on King Saul or that jinn would come on King Saul, it would make him go crazy. And there was one of our ancestors would take a string instrument and calm the jinn down or calm the spirits down. Some people call him King David or Dawood. Am I right or wrong? Tell me.
That's right.
Okay. So being able to control evil spirits that occupy people, as we grow older, we begin to realize the power of the Almighty Creator in what?
In us.
In flesh. Every prophet we seen came in. Every person that we talk about that had a word from the Most High or the Creator, he was in
Flesh.
So seeing the power of God in
Us. Our flesh.
makes us begin to act different. And for people who read, study, practice, and pray, you ask for that power of God to come on you, right? So with us learning things in this world, how to control our mind, our spirit, and our heart, the question again is, what do we tell the next generation? Because time is changing. There is YouTube now. Not only is there CNN, there's Al Jazeera. And as you keep looking at more news stories, you're seeing more and more melanated people all around. And one of the things that has happened, the divide and conquer aspect has caused us to decompartmentalize our thought process. We do it globally, we do it locally, and we even do it in our community. When you're on your job site, you talk one way. When you're driving down the street, you talk another way. When the police officer stops, you talk another way. When you talk to your children, you go another way. And when you go to your spiritual house, you talk a different way. How many different mindsets do you have? That sounds like schizophrenia. Is that the clinical definition of what that is? You got all these personalities roaming at one time? What she has done clinically is proven that we're not the only ones crazy over here. Is that what the summation of the book is? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, who told you that he was God and who told you that you were the devil? If they don't teach you right, they're not going to. Right. Okay. So how much more proof do we need to know that we need to get our own minds back? And then after we get our minds back, we can argue with adults all we want, but the Moses generation perished in the wilderness. They never made it to the promised land. They got out of Egypt, they got out of slavery, but they didn't go no further. The next generation, Joshua or Yeshua and all of the young people, Yeshua and Caleb were only adults. They're the only ones who entered the promised land. A few thousand years later, Christ come on earth and say, unless you have the heart of a child, you're not even going to enter into the kingdom. Why? Because adults know everything already. Children can still be taught. So if we understand what psychology was wrong for us and our elders and our ancestors, what are we going to do to the next generation? What are we going to do to protect the next generation? Well, what we know. If you don't know, you can't be charged for it. So I suggest that maybe we try to buy 2 copies of the book, one for our house and one for a house that maybe doesn't have the opportunity or the chance or the mind yet to read it. And open up the doors so that we can change our minds on earth, because we're looking for the power of God to take place in flesh. That's really all I got to say about psychology. And I think that after we understand what is going on mentally, we're going to have to use spiritual power to overcome these demons. We're going to have to use spiritual power to overcome these demons. So I'm praying for you, and I'm praying for the community. Yeah.
All right, quickly, what stood out? The two things that stood out from what Rashomon said.
We're not the only one that's crazy.
That's definitely. Anybody else?
Spiritual entity gotta, really take over the powers and the demons that we see today.
No question about it. Let's give another big hand for Brother Rashomon. We are really fortunate that the next brother that we're going to speak, he's probably the last person in this room to actually talk to. How many people here talked to Cress Welsing in the last 6 months?
Rochester, we're both sides.
Well, all right, so probably the last person to actually talk to her in the flesh was Brother Chris Stevens. So let's give a big hand for Brother Chris Stevens.
I'm still 17 years old, so I'm asking the elders, do I have permission?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. My last conversation with Dr. Wilson came like 3 weeks before she had passed away. And she sounded fine. Sounded very normal, her usual self. She told me, at the time, I was trying to get her onto my radio show. I got a blog talk radio show called 3600 Seconds. I had that show, I was blessed enough to have to get that show on from early 2010. I got her on as a guest in 2013. Wasn't one of my better episodes because I was having sound problems during the time of I was trying to interview her. But I always wanted to get her back on, So what happened was I called her, matter of fact, and she didn't answer the phone right away. She left a message. She had called me back the next day. So I said, well, my show generally comes on Thursdays at 6 o'clock, 6 p.m. So I said, I need you to come on maybe this Thursday, next Thursday. She said, well, I'm not going to be able to make it this Thursday. I said, all right, I'll schedule it for a future Thursday. This just before the holidays, just before Christmas and New Year's and all that. And, I asked her how she was doing. She said, I'm doing well. Of course, unfortunately, we lost that. We will learn weeks later she's no longer with us. I read Dr. Welsing's book years ago, maybe a couple of decades ago. That is one of the most amazing reads I've ever gone through. Because, for one thing, about the ISIS paper, the keys to the color, I never read anything, I've read a lot of, you read the Malcolm X books and the Black Panther books and stuff like that. These are great books. But nobody ever really got into a study, an examination of the white European race, the way she did. She broke it down. And after I read that, I said, that's what we're not doing. We're not studying them. Don't they study us?
Yes.
Don't they?
Yes, sir.
They study, we try to be friends with them.
Yes,
We try to have as level a relationship with them as we can. They are studying us, up and down the place. She got down there, she studied them and broke it down. Wrote it down in this amazing book. And I managed to write down a few notes about it. It talks about the causes of racism, the ideology of racism, the cause of racism, the system of power, things like this. She basically said that these people are doing these things because they are insecure. This book was published in 1992. Here it is, 2015. I'm sorry, 2016. Thanks for correcting me. We're getting shot by police in increased numbers. They're not just shooting, they're shooting us, and then walking up to us, and then emptying the gun, shooting 19 times while you're on the ground. I was scared they might do something. Maybe you'll get up. They're like Godzilla. Maybe they'll get up and crush me or something. Just saw it a couple of days ago. Woman in court crying because her 7-year-old granddaughter shot by a cop entering her house. Right? Cop got a nice, powerful lawyer next to him. Okay? He's fearful of a 12-year-old girl. Okay? You guys know about Tamir Rice in Cleveland. 12 years old with a toy gun. They didn't want nothing. They can drive up on him to shoot him. Okay? All these situations. Now shooting the sister, Sandra Bland. Sandra Bland was killed while in custody, same as 4 other black females were during that 1 month period. So we're living in the time where people are acting out the results of the ISIS case. We're living in that time period. It's not getting better, it hasn't gotten better, it's gotten worse. And I tried to, during that interview, if you go to 30 to 3600 seconds page, you can go to Blog Talk Radio /3600seconds.com, or you can go 3600 seconds on Facebook, and you can scroll down to where I was interviewed. I'm going to post it. And she's talking about, at that time, the time I interviewed her was immediately after the Trayvon Martin, I should say George, it was really Trayvon Martin trial. They called it the George Zimmerman trial, all right? It was around that time, and she was breaking that down, how, she said, here you got people, all of them weren't white, but they felt they were. They wanted to be, she said, George is really white, George is part Hispanic. She said, one of the jurors on the jury, she looks black. She claims she's Hispanic, she wants to be white. So she rules along with it, okay? So that's a powerful thing. What these people out here living out in illusion. And it is also an insecurity. Everything they do is based on fear, and it is, as she calls it, fear of genetic annihilation. So, as brought before, she's the originator of the Cress theory of color confrontation. This is also important because this book is also based on Neely Fuller's book, Neely Fuller Jr.'s. It's called the United, I can't memorize this title, the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. Okay, that's where the ICE paper is based on. I just got finished reading Dr. Fuller, or Mr. Fuller's book several weeks ago. It's a long read. That book is like it's like an unofficial war journal. It's made of strict rules and regulations based on behavior and aspects of racism, dealing with, I think, about 7 or so categories: politics, war, sex, religion, everything. It breaks things down. That book is very, very detailed. So if you don't have the ISIS papers, get that. Also get Neely Fuller's book, the United Compensatory Independent Code System. Code System concept. But I'm not going to take a whole lot of time here. All I can say is this is a big loss. This is a big major loss, Dr. Welsing, because we're not going to see the likes of this again, especially with the we got more blacks coming up nowadays, but they're not really willing to speak out about this. They're very sensitive about talking about white people. They got a lot of white friends, whatever. I understand that. I got white friends. I got people I work with and all that stuff. But this stuff is still happening. Okay, and that's the main thing. That's the biggest problem. So that's all I can say is go to Amazon, order that book. There's several different prices for it. Check it out. I know I got it. Check out my page on Facebook, PointBlank009. There's a link on my page for that book also if you want to order it. And all I can say is long live Dr. Lowe.
Quickly, Mr. Chris said that resonated with you. Somebody give me something that Chris said that resonated with you.
Caucasians is inferior. They're inferior to us.
And the word Dr. Welsing uses genetic
Annihilation.
recessive. You know what I'm saying? And that's a real thing. I mean, think about that. I mean, that ain't nothing to play with. She has a serious conversation about the fact that they have to defend themselves from being loved. Because what happens if we all love white people, what happens?
They eradicate themselves.
She makes it clear that they face genetic annihilation. That's a real fear if you want to exist. That's not a joke. That's a serious thing. Anything else? One more thing.
That book that he was talking about by Fuller.
Dr. Neely Fuller, and if you get a chance, go watch Dr. Cress Welsing on YouTube. She talks about the meeting with Dr. Minister Neely Fuller. It's a powerful book. He talks about the system of racism, the system of white supremacy. Very important for us to know that. We have not only, I think Brother Shako shared that whenever we lose an elder, that's literally like a library burning down. There's so much that Dr. Welsing brought us. We have our own library here, a living library, that we got to take advantage of while she's alive. Let's give a big hand for Mother Gina Doyle.
Good evening, everyone. I'm late because I had to go and see about my great-granddaughter who was in a crisis situation. Family comes first.
Yes.
And I had to make sure, I have 2 great-grands now, 7 grands.
Wow.
I had to make sure that she was okay. I am truly honored to be part of this tribute to one of our most renowned now ancestor, Dr. Cress Welsing. We have lost another one of our great scholars and our great educators. The first time I saw and heard Dr. Cress Welsing was at Buffalo State College while I was a student studying to become a teacher. And that was many, many, many years ago. She gave a lecture on racism in one of the large student halls. I was fascinated by her lecture, and there was no professor that I ever sat in front of, either at the Buffalo State, University of Buffalo, or any other university that could even be her equal. I spoke to her a little more than a year ago by phone because I wanted to invite her to Buffalo to speak here at the Frank Merriweather Library as part of my ongoing series of national speakers that I've been bringing to Buffalo. At the time that I spoke to her, she was not able to come because she had a very full schedule. And her price was very reasonable, because I don't think that was what she was all about. I think she was about teaching and telling us the truth. And I just felt honored just to be able to talk to her on the phone. She was born Frances Luella Cress on March 18, 1935, in my birth month. And I feel a connection there. I really feel a connection. And I read her book many, many years ago. And for those of you, I called the libraries. I called the Central Library, called the librarian was just here a few minutes ago. I called the Merriweather Library, and they don't have her book in their system. Wow. That's a shame. Yes. And that's a disgrace. Yes. Not to have this most important book. It is nowhere in the library system. Now, at one time, it was here at the Merriweather Library. And I know some of you probably have tried to borrow it. But I guess someone, and I was told maybe someone borrowed the book and did not return the book. Now, I run into this all the time because a lot of you know I'm a historian. I'm always writing history. I've been doing it for 37 years. And I run into this all the time when I'm trying to find a unique book that's important to our history. It has disappeared. So I'm telling people that if you borrow a book, please return it. Sure. Please be considerate of other people who want to read this book. Now, if you find that you need to hold the book a little longer, you can do that because you can renew a book up to 3 times. I've done that myself. But after the 3rd time, bring it back so somebody else can read it. Now, I went on Amazon.com. The book is the cheapest price that I found for the ISIS papers was about $35. But with the tax and the shipping and handling, it will probably come to maybe about $45.
Not that if it's over, if it's $35 on Amazon, if it's 35 or over, you should have handed it free.
Oh, okay, good. I'm glad you told me that, and so, some more information. But while I was researching material about her, I came across, and some of you may have seen this, I came across a DVD that she produced called Preparing and Protecting Black Children. So I ordered it, and it came to about $15 altogether. I should have that DVD by the end of this week. How many people have seen this? Preparing and Protecting Our Children. And you know I collect DVDs, anything to do with us, anything to do with our history. I have at this point about 150 DVDs, and I show them. So watch the challenger, watch the criterion, because I plan to show that DVD right here in this room. But not too soon, because I sort of have a full plate at this point in my life, but I will show it. It sounds like it's going to be a great and awesome DVD. I would also like to point out that the Final Call newspaper, and someone might have talked about this before I came. Did you talk about it, Brother? Yeah, oh, okay, Brother David. Has a wonderful tribute to Dr. Francis Cress Welsing called The Indelible Legacy of a Warrior Scholar. And if you don't get the Final Call, you should subscribe. I read the Final Call every Wednesday. The brothers bring my paper, put it in my mailbox, and I read it from front to back. Because a lot of the information in history that pertains to us, sometimes it doesn't make the local papers. Right. So you must subscribe to the Final Call, the Criterion, which is the paper I write for the young people in here. The Criterion is the oldest black newspaper in Western New York. It is 90 years old, and the Challenger. You must read those three papers in order to stay educated. And this was such an inspirational article that I'm planning to cut it out, have it laminated, and pass it on to my grandchildren and my children so that they would read. Because young people don't know a lot about her. Right. Because it isn't promoted, and of course you know our history, and that's a battle I've been fighting for almost 40 years. Sister Karima, she fought the same battle in the Buffalo Public Schools to make sure that our history is taught, which it is not taught. But I'm still going to be out there. Somebody said to me Saturday on the radio show that I'm the lone voice. Well, I may be the lone voice, but this lone voice is going to keep on talking about our history. So that's very important. We need memorials. We need monuments. We need statues. Yes. We need museums. Yep. To make sure that our history goes on so our young people will understand that history. When I was in Washington, D.C. last summer, they're building this huge African American History Museum that's supposed to be open in late fall of 2016, not too far from the White House. It is absolutely beautiful. So I plan to, since I made a donation to this museum, I got 2 minutes, let me say this real quick. Since I made a donation, I'm calling them this week to ask them if they don't already have Dr. Francis Cress Welsing's information, biography, and photo. I'm going to put some pressure on them.
Hey.
Get it in.
All right, another big hand for Mother Doyle. What's Mother Doyle say that stood out for us?
Pushing that Francis Cress monument.
Making sure we take responsibility for doing that. That's our responsibility to make that happen. Anything else?
If you have more than one book in the library, replace it with it is missing.
That's right. We need to be in all the libraries, not just this one.
I just want.
That's what we're going to say. All right, another big round of applause for Mother. Oh, and so Zawadi Books, how much it cost us Zawadi Books?
About $16.95.
All right, so you ain't got to pay $35. You can get it for $16.95 at Zawadi Books, and that's every Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday from noon to 4. And go get the book there, all right? All right, so, okay, the DVDs outside, you can see the brothers outside with the DVDs. Next, how was Kwanzaa this year, everybody? Was Kwanzaa off the winter show or what? said that and every year Queen Halima, she works to try to get Mother Cress Welsing to come. She always said, I'm not coming to Buffalo, it's too cold to come to Buffalo in December. This year, it wasn't that cold now. But let's give a big round of applause for Queen Halima.
Hotep, everyone.
Hotep.
Can I have your permission to speak? All right, I won't be long, but I promise to be strong. First of all, I want to say to everybody is that today is another Ancestor commemoration. And because of that, we have to embrace that as an African people, that we acknowledge a cycle of life. So it's the other way. It's the way of the European to see death as a finality, to see death as, a very sad thing that we mourn and things like that. So please, don't get so stiff today. Okay, we're here to celebrate Dr. Welsing's life, and we are here to celebrate her transition. Not her loss, this is a transition. She may not be with us in the physical, but now we got that much more power. Say that. In the ancestral realm. And I just felt that energy happen right now. I like to say a student, even though I've never met her, of Dr. Cress Welsing since I was in college. I heard about her book. Every time I went to the library to get it, it was gone. Finally, somehow I was at University of Buffalo in the summer and decided maybe with the students gone, I could get it. So I went there to the library, and there it was in Lockwood Library, and when I read it, I couldn't put it down. And it guided me as a teacher, and I'm a teacher of young children. Young children meaning preschoolers. Been doing it for 20 years now. And that was one of my guiding principles as an educator. To me, everything she was talking about as far as the imagery is concerned, that even the image of a gun is an image of white male supremacy. That's why it's called the Great Equalizer. She talked about the beauty, and that's what I'm going to just speak on a bit of melanin. Understanding how powerful it is, that what we possess that's in here, everything else is an output. All of our wonderful scribes, all of our genius of education and agriculture and science and everything like that comes from having this right here, all of this beautiful melanin. And so that was the first, and she always made it a note that the most powerful thing you can do for a child is read, read, read. That make them in love with being in the library. So much so that they say it. And when my son was in the womb, I even read to him through the womb so that the vibrations and energies could get in. And he's a voracious reader now. But still going back to that melanin principle. So as a teacher, one of the first things I did with children who were 2 and 9 months old to 3 years old, and I was a new teacher, very new school, I did a thing called Melanin and Me. And we explored melanin. We mixed brown paint with every color to show that the more that you mix brown with anything, more brown comes out. That's how powerful you are. You can do anything and mix with anybody because we create, others duplicate. Feel beautiful about this. So remember, today is not a funeral, you all. She talked about the Lord of the perfect black, otherwise known as a star. Okay? Otherwise saying that perfect black, we possess it. This is who we are. And like they say, black don't cry. All right? So I'm going to end my time by reading this poem called Dark Eve. I actually wrote this for my sister because coming up in the late 70s and 80s, if you were dark, my goodness, like they said, if you black, get back, right? And there was all kinds of things that we used to tease each other, but I wanted her to know I thought she was absolutely beautiful, and I envied her. I really did. I envied women who had darker skin, in a healthy way, because I thought that was such beauty and such power, such power. And we all have it. We are an African rainbow. And remember that. So here it is, dark Eve. God said, I'll make me a little girl and I'll call her the world. But Satan will call her darkness. Chocolate grape eyes, bright white smile, and ultraviolet personality. She is the angel of darkness, queen of night. She is the one with shade, cool demeanor, yet red hot blood, and skin the color of mystery mud. But I will not call her darky. She sings sweetly like Lady Day, cause her clouds are all covered in gray from the preoccupation of skin color. Norman womanhood is not enough when her melanocytes made her darker than a trillion midnights. Black conscious actions in love to match, return to the dark shell every day to hatch a new reality of freedom. Speak, dark Eve queen, let them know you live beyond the bleach. Come out of the closet, let ebony phonics sift through your speech. Come to an awakening, make your nappy hair be the new perm. Stand against self-hatred and be affirmed that humanity loved this dark Eve sister. She's the black filament before the universe blister. We must love everything she stands for and worship her feet. Leave soil footprints in the sand. Lead us to relief. No matter how yellow I am, I look in the mirror and see you. Sister and sister, our love is sweeter than blackstrap molasses, honeydew, brown sugar baby, colored coffee, black mistress, burnt toast negress. We can't help but see you. Behold what they call mistakenly humanity's curse. Look upon me, cause I am black. Reinterpret Makeda's verse. Beauty in history and constant creation. Solomon wanted her dark womb to entomb his nation. In her alchemy, African she be, darky she not be, blacky she not be. Yemeya's black blood legacy, accept your beauty and set yourself free.
We create, others duplicate. All right. Anybody else?
Did she say I'm in love with the melody man?
You just heard that in the spirit. You know what I'm saying? Yes, sir. Let's go ahead, brother.
The most important thing we could do is read to a child.
Read, read, read. Let's give another big hand for putting the name of that powerful. And without further ado, let's give a big hand for our keynote speaker tonight, the president of the Eastern Region of ASCAC, Sister Deborah Johnson.
What's up?
No, I wasn't doing that. I was, yeah, it's, first I'd like to ask the elders for permission to speak. First I'd like to thank Patrick for inviting me to be a keynote. And it's kind of hard to say, to come behind these great minds who are sitting here right today. But thank you again. And when, I'm sorry, real quick. As Sister Dr. Cress Welsing was making her transition, ASCAC, we're in the process of putting a conference together for Atlanta. She's not the only one that made the transition within the last couple of months. Some of you may have heard of Brother Larry Obadella Williams. His mind was an archive. He made his transition in December. And we got to spend some time with him in June. But his mind is an index. So he made his transition in December. So we're in the process of putting a compass journal together for ASCAC. And in that journal, it'll be Dr. Clark, Dr. Crothers, Cress Welsing, Francis Cress Welsing, and did I say Dr. Ben? Dr. Ben, and then what the whole group is doing, the editorial board, we're all writing a paragraph on Dr. Asa Hilliard, and we're putting that together like we did with Dr. Ben. It's just real short. I had put a little just a little PowerPoint of some pictures of Dr. Welsing in her, I want to say the last 4 to 5 years of her life here on Earth. And because especially with going on now with Black Lives Matter, things of that nature. And I was trying to put something together, and then I started thinking back. I had to breathe, like Brother Sam said, sometimes you gotta sit back, take a deep breath, and breathe. And I was trying to remember the first, how did I get to know Francis Cress Welsing? And back in 86, 87, I used to go down to New York, the First World Alliance, and they did lecture series. And every tape I bought, the brother that made the tapes, he gives me. But anyway, make a long story short, that's how I learned about Francis Cress Welsing. I bought a tape. He said, you gotta have this one. Then I had papers of hers. One paper that really blew my mind was the origin of the word mother effer. And I'm like, that I ain't gonna go into details, but that was my first paper that I had read of hers. And as I was putting all this together, then I was thinking, I said, okay, well, I know this, I know that. Because I did meet her, I did get to spend some time with her, but most of it has been through ASCAC, because she was really close with a lot of the members of ASCAC. They were like brothers and sisters, some of them. Okay, well, don't worry about it. But I just wanted, a lot of things they said here today probably were some of the things I was going to say. But what I did, a sister from Maryland has sent me a bunch of YouTube. So I've been getting, since Sister Welsing went into the hospital, I've been getting information every day on updates and things like that. But I did want to say, her funeral or her service, her celebration has been changed from Howard University. It was going to be at Howard University January 23rd from 11 to 3. However, it's been changed to Metropolitan AME Church, which is a historical church, from 3 to 8. So it's still going to be 4 hours, and it is going to be live streamed. If I haven't sent it to you, let me know. If you got an email address, just give it to me, and I can shoot you the information as it comes available. But if you have Dr. Jeffries or Tony Browder, if you have them on your Facebook, they've been sending updates as well. But I did want to start off with, as I started looking at some of her work, some of her papers, some of her lectures, because I'm not a YouTuber, but I'm learning. And because it's so, like you said, there's so much of the lectures, like for me, when I got into learning about many of the scholars and the ancestors, I listened to cassette tapes. So I guess that's in the school now. But anyway, she was at the ASCAC conference in 2011 at Howard University. This one was significant because while we were there, it was her 76th birthday, so they threw a birthday party for her while we were there. And she did speak with us that Saturday. And but what I liked was the way she always started her messages when she was amongst Black people. And I like to start this one off as she would today. And she called it the Black People's Liberation Prayer. Thou who are blacker than trillion midnights, thou whose eyes shine brighter a billion stars, those whose hair doth coil tighter than a billion springs radiating all energy, justice on earth, and live in peace. And I thought it was interesting because of the conversations or just the comments that were made today from the panel on justice. And something that she spoke for was justice. And when we think about Frances Cress Welsing, she spoke on racism and white supremacy for over 40 years. And I just remember listening to her, and she said she never thought that she would be on one topic for 40 years. But you know, when you think about it, but it takes us, we've gone through so much, we're still going through it. But what made her unique and what I like, Queen Nzinga always called her the instructor, a master instructor, because not only did she educate us, she gave us instructions to follow, just like the sister Helene said. She taught, take your child and read to your child. And just as she did, is reading to your child when they're in the womb, because they can hear you, they can feel you. And you got to keep that positive energy. And that's, you know, something we don't think about every day, but when we, even, you know, as a woman having life in the womb, you have to talk to that child, you have to nurture while it's in the womb. And it's really unique. So that was one point I wanted to bring out. The other one was, like I said, she spoke for over 40 years, but something, and I kept hearing it may be in different words, but it was rescuing and restoring the African mind.
Okay.
And that was something she talked about. It may not have been the same version of it, but she always said that's what white supremacy and racism, and for us to overcome it, we have to restore our African mind. First, we have to rescue it, and what she brought to our attention was how racism and white supremacy is affecting us. Once we realize that, learn how to overcome it, then we can restore our mind. And that should be part of our goal, because like she said, she's not lost. We didn't lose her. As long as she's in our hearts and our minds. And she scattered the knowledge, so she's even bigger today than she was while she was here on earth. And she never talked, she always talked about in order to have justice, we have here on earth. So when we create the justice and the peace here on earth, we're creating it for the universe as well. So she's out there in the universe. And you think of Obadella Williams, you know, Dr. Ben, Dr. Clark, Dr. Hilliard, all of them are gathered together. And we're standing on their shoulders.
That's right.
You know, so we still have lots of work to do. But they set a path, a guide for us to follow. So I know I don't have much time, and I really appreciate the time that you've given me. And I'm glad I was a part of this celebration. And like I said, if there's any information that you need, the updates of the service, if you want to go down to DC, I don't know if anyone's planning to go. However, you know, just to know that, to put that energy out there, for her to be so dynamic in DC, even when Howard let her go because of her lecture, you know, her opinion, her theory. She was too hot for Howard, you know.
Yes.
You know, but she still kept it going anyway. And sometimes that's what I'm not a YouTuber, I'm learning. But I went back and I was listening to her on the Phil Donahue show. And they were attacking her. She was just nice and cool. She came right back at him. And I think it was Tony Brown's show from 1974. To go back to think that, you know, like I said, when I came up, it was cassette tapes and video and VHS. And today you can go on YouTube and pick up some of the knowledge that she was dropping. So, you know, like I said, and Nzinga always called her the instructor. I like to think of her as the Queen Pharaoh of our time. She was a strong sister, and she didn't back down. You know, when you see her stand up to white supremacy and racism on TV as well, radio, whatever she did, like she said, she always insisted things in order for us to restore or rescue and restore, we have to study. And not just our own history, we have to study all history, because we're in all history.
Yes, yes.
So we have to study it all. So it may take us a little time. We're patient people. However, we still got to study. And I think I'll leave it like that.
All right. What you said that resonated with us.
All history, all history.
We got to study all history. African history is world history.
Yes, yes.
Anybody else? One more.
Rescue and restore.
Rescue and restore our African mind. Let's give another round of applause to Sister Deborah Johnson. Next, we will have a video presentation by Brother Shaka. Let's give a hand for Brother Shaka. Video presentation.
These are just some, for those who haven't been blessed enough to experience Mother Welsing, like most of us have, we're going to take a 5-minute clip so she can, enlighten us on what she's been working for her whole life. And that's understanding racism.
Learn how to do that.
Oh yeah, don't waste too much.
It just flipped. That quick. Prior to that time, I considered myself to be a Marxist, and I was looking at racism as a byproduct of economic activity. But as I attempted to use Marx's definition, it wasn't producing the answers that I needed. And at that point in time, I was training to become a psychiatrist. And I wanted to have some answers so that I could help Black people solve their mental health problems. But as I attempted to use Marx's concept, I wasn't really getting the traction that I needed to solve these problems as a physician. And so I heard this gentleman one day start talking about a book he had been working on, and he said, no, that you have a system of white supremacy, and that is about people who classify themselves as white being in control and dominating. So Fuller said that this system, that white supremacy was a system, and then listen to this, that this system functions in the area of economics. This system functions in the area of education. This system functions in the area of entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Are you all with me? Do you see the difference? Marx was saying that this was causing this. And Fuller said, no, we have a global system of white supremacy that carries out activity in economics, education, entertainment, labor law, politics, meaning all the areas of people activity. So then Cress Welsing comes along and she said, why? Why indeed would these people set up such a system? And the question why is a very important question in psychiatric medicine. The question why is a very important question for the brain-computer period, and that's why anybody who knows a little 2-year-old or 18-month-old or, probably 2, and they keep saying, why? Why, Mom? Why? Because this is a question that turns the brain-computer on. It's a question about cause and effect. You see? What is happening so that the brain can say, oh, okay, I got it now. Now I can understand, and I can move from there to understand many other things. So I said, why would these people do this? And then my education, starting at Douglas Elementary School, Women's High School, Antioch College, Howard Medical School, Okay, classmates, that all of this came together once I raised this question, because this question just said, brain computers go to work on this problem. And so I was standing in my kitchen, as a matter of fact, doing dishes and cooking, and the brain computer came with the printout. And the printout was this, that here we are on this planet Earth. 1/10 of the people have white skin. 9/10 of the people are black, brown, red, and yellow. One of the things that the 1/10 would say is that the 9/10, particularly the black people, were genetically inferior. How many people have heard that? Everybody. So I also understood in training as a psychiatrist, when somebody is pointing, something's wrong with you. Something is wrong with you. Something is wrong with you. Something is wrong with you, that the behavioral scientists know that the finger that is pointing at somebody else has 3 fingers that are pointing at them. And so I also thought about that, and I said, oh, wow. These people are telling us that we are genetically inferior, but the same people are genetic recessive. You see, and even if you have not studied formal genetics, everybody in this room, every black person is a scholar in genetics. Because all black people know, don't marry anybody darker than yourself. You see, that's genetic knowledge under white supremacy, because black people didn't like their color. They were trying to get away from this very powerful and dominant color. But the people who were classified as white learned after they had circumnavigated the globe. And everywhere the people were colored. And those white men who had sexual intercourse with the black women and waited around 9 months, they found out that white plus black is equal to color. White plus brown is equal to color. White plus red is equal to color. And white plus yellow is equal to color. So they understood after that voyage, after those many voyages, that these people, the black, brown, red, and yellow people, were the majority people on the planet. And that they were genetically dominant to white-skinned people. And they also made a quick brain-computer calculation that if they did not maintain control and domination over the black, brown, red, and yellow people, that white people could disappear on the planet.
Dr. Welsing in her own words. Let's give another hand for Dr. Cress Welsing. All right. And without any further ado, the last thing, we're moving close on time, so I want to bring up our last speaker tonight. He's a poet. Let's give a hand for Brother Dr.
Family, do I have our permission to continue? Okay, we thank you. We're humbled by the opportunity to be able to share with us this evening on this here great, tremendous occasion for our youth and our masses. From Africa, you came, majestic as can be, intelligent, useful, youthful. You, the African youth and masses, come from Africa, majestic as can be, higher in intelligence, heavier in mind, with a history that goes back so far that nobody even remember what you did or how you did it, young African, how you made the pyramids stand so strong, how you traveled the sea and cultivated the earth, how you philosophized and theorized and was governmental wise and thought for yourself all the time, how you can do it, young African, with the full knowledge of yourself, with the full knowledge of your past, with the full knowledge to tell you that anything you can do, anything that you want to do because your history is just that bad, the sky's the limit. Serve your people, serve them well. If we serve our people, we never forget Ma'afa. It was a triangular trade, part of it. It was guns for arms and rum for legs. You know it wasn't no fair exchange. The commodities of the triangular trade. From Europe, they sailed cargo bound, pots and pans and rum and guns to exchange at a profit for people of the sun, captured Africans enslaved on a journey of pain, the black gold of an inhumane trade. Upon the shores of the Caribbean Isles, the black gold was unloaded to till the ground, to work the land, to build to reload the ship with the white gold that now made Europe rich. First sugar, then cotton, the effects were the same. Europe benefited while Africa was shamed. It was guns for arms and rum for legs. You know it wasn't no fair exchange. The commodities of the triangle trade, they made us mad. Give us a rich white capitalist, snatch him up and wring his neck. Blame him for the pain we feel. His tendency to rape, his tendency to kill. For centuries he maimed, bodies he snatched. A conspiracy against young African males to get that back. What about the land he stole from the native red man? And that no good powdered milk he sold us in a can. We let him in our land. He gave us a bull, something interpretation of a Bible. Think I ain't gonna hold him liable? Plot, print, waiting for him to slip. I'll show him how to give somebody a fit. A floppy full of feathers and tar oil like he did us. Tumble his word. Tumble his word. Because a one was a one. When he was born, they said, is you the one, son? Is you the one? The one that see through the pitfalls and the traps. The one that see through the twists and the turns and the dark alleys and whispering in your ear. Be a player. Be a player. Be a player. Players in games we don't control. We didn't first make drugs in a laboratory, but we sell them. They build the prisons, but we live in them. We make the babies, but our babies tell us what to do. They offer our leaders trinkets and beats. And they take it. Our leaders tell us that they sorry. We say okay. But who told us not to have love for self and we believe it? When the one was the one. When he was born, they said, is you the one, son? Is you the one, daughter? The one to bring morality back. The one to have fun from just the rays of the sun. The one to have fun from just the rays of the sun. Are you the one, son? Are you the one, daughter? Are you the one, son? Are you the one, daughter? People's got soul. People's got rhythm. People's is black. I said the people's got soul, the people's got rhythm, the people's is black. Through the forest Miss Tubman went. She slid right through the red, the white, and the blue, while Brother Gil Scott Service Searcher came with a combination, so tell me they ain't like the African concept of time. I said the people's got soul, the people's got rhythm, the people's is black. Something recent started clapping your hands in the church choir, y'all could history clap right in on the lives of mine. Boy, that y'all cook must have been a bad dude. I said my people's got soul, my people's got rhythm, my people's is black. What Train did with a horn, Langston did with a pen, Sarah did with a mouth, and it all came from the living of a people since a black mother raised a child to be a warrior. And we know that every daddy wasn't no Rolling Stone, so tell me. I said my people's got so much soul, my people's got rhythm, my people's is black. I hear the soul beat rhythms that are black. They call them young blood. Militants rising 6 o'clock in the morning. Push up, push up, push up, push up. You know we got to keep on pushing up because we ain't free. Lord, 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 my people's got so much soul. My people's got so much river. My people's is all the way black.
Powerful way to bring this in the close. Did you want to say anything in closing, Brother Pat? So let me just say, make 2 points before we close. First of all, let's all together just say the name of our ancestor, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. Let's just say it together. Dr. Welsing. Dr. Welsing. Dr. Welsing. Dr. Welsing. Dr. Welsing. Dr. Welsing. And feel that spirit. You know what I'm saying? We love her. We honor her life. You know, the thing that resonated with me about the life of Dr. Francis Cress Welsing is she said that she was a behavior detective. She understood that when people look at you and they see your behavior, they don't see you. She said when you look at people, you see their potential. And if you can see their potential, you can bring that out of them. They try to trick us by trying to talk about the way we behave, and they created that condition. The other thing, I want you to double check you on this. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing never said there was a such thing as white people. Right. She never said that. She said there are people who classify themselves as white.
Come on.
And she said that over and over again is the reason why she said.
That's right.
People who classify themselves as white, because she said it's a genetic mutation to albinism. It's really important to know what she was saying. That produced that race of people. So you got to understand there's a power. This sister is so powerful. We touched the surface of the day, but what I'm going to ask everybody to do is go home and honor her life by reading something about her.
That's right.
Reading something she wrote, watching a videotape, going out and get a videotape, going to Zawadi, get a book. But don't just end it here today.
Right.
You go out and make sure you teach it to a child. Because that's where she really dedicated her life at. She dedicated her life to a child. We'll kill the library and come in and give us 1 second. Anybody else want to share a word? We got a minute. He's going to come in here in 2 minutes. Him saying, Sister Business. Oh, yeah, come on. You were supposed to do a phone earlier. We missed you. Okay,
And I came because I saw on Facebook that this was going down, and I
all right, you only got a minute, so do this for
oh,
us.
snap. Suppose the shackles were on the other foot, and it was whites who started out of Haiti's roots. Suppose the whites sailed on those ships, but not on the luxurious tip. Chained to one another, simultaneously moving bows, multiple regurgitation. Caucasian slaves, born, bred, and raised to raise and pick cotton on black plantations. Taking over your women and putting fear into your men. Well, that's really going on now and way back then. Planting our seeds into your bloodlines, hanging you off for petty crimes. Suppose the shackles were on the other foot, and it was a white woman who devised the greatest plan, the master plan of all times, escape routes. Suppose the blacks was just as rotten, and it was you who became the downtrodden. Whips and chains taking a beating, searching for God, praying for freedom, separating child, woman, and man, never again to see the motherland. Suppose the shackles were on the other foot, ended every question, conversation, any answer, yes sir or no ma'am. Suppose the whites had to check a box saying, Amerifro, Afrikan. Control his people, oppress his people, 500 years and going strong.
Right.
Your only option is picking cotton picking, singing spiritual for whites only songs. Having no voice of your own, no choice of your home, having to do as masters say. Suppose the blacks were the faces, the highly racist. Okay. Suppose the world could live as equals. I would love to become known for writing a sequel. What if it was you snatched from your village, shipped away without saying it? Writing is my pleasure, but for you, it'd be a privilege. Suppose the shackles were on the other foot. If it was the other way around, residing in a one-room shack, resting your heads upon the ground, praying to Jehovah for this nightmare to be over. 500 years and going strong. Suppose the game had different rules. 40 acres and a mule is all you get for all those years of sheer torment. Suppose the shackles were on the other foot. If this was your reality, casualties, countless fatalities, we probably would have freed your people long ago.
Go ahead. Griot Nation Radio Live, Buffalo, New York, from the Frankie Merriweather Library. Celebrating our dear Sister Frances Cress Welsing.
Every Monday, we back here next week talking about another topic, another discussion. This is a conscious church, and I want to see everybody out next week. Hotel.